You look in the mirror each morning and something has changed. There is less hair than there was last year, less than there was 6 months ago. Perhaps you run your fingers through and notice how much comes away. Perhaps your scalp has become visible in places it never was, clears throat before. Perhaps you have started wearing hats more often, or positioning yourself differently in photographs, or simply not looking quite as long as you once did. I want you to know that I see this. I have sat with patients for over 60 years. Many came to me for other reasons, but this is the thing. So many of them mentioned quietly, almost as an afterthought. The hair, the thinning, the slow disappearance of something that mattered to how they felt about themselves. Here is what I want to tell you before anything else. Hair loss in your 60s and 70s is not a fixed sentence. It is a signal that certain conditions in your scalp have shifted, that blood is not reaching the follicles the way it once did, that a hormone has been accumulating and silently shrinking those follicles, that inflammation may have quietly taken hold. These are things that happen gradually over time, and they are things that can be addressed, not overnight, but consistently, measurably, and without expensive treatments or harsh chemicals. Today, I am going to show you a spray you can make at home. 3 ingredients from your kitchen. When combined correctly and applied in the right way, they target the exact conditions that cause hair follicles to stop producing as we age. This is not a miracle. I do not believe in miracles, but it is a real practical protocol, and I'm going to explain every step so that you understand not just what to do, but why each ingredient matters. Understanding why is what makes you consistent, and consistency is the only thing that actually works. If you are committed to growing your hair back naturally, type the number 77 in the comments right now and click subscribe. I read every single comment. That small act of commitment you make right now matters more than you might expect. Now I want you to stay with me through this entire video because at the very end, I am going to reveal the one mistake that cancels out everything else. It is something most people do without realizing. It is the reason so many home remedies fail, even when the ingredients are exactly right. I have watched people follow protocols like this faithfully and get weak results because of this one thing. Stay with me. Before I show you the spray, let me explain what is actually happening inside your scalp. Because once you understand this, everything else I share today will make much more sense. Here is the truth about hair loss as we age. It is not one problem. It is several problems happening at the same time, each one making the others worse. The first is circulation. As we get older, the small blood vessels beneath the scalp deliver less blood than they used to. Blood carries oxygen, blood carries nutrients. A hair follicle is a living structure. It needs constant nourishment to produce a healthy strand of hair. When blood supply reduces, the follicle begins to produce thinner hair, weaker hair. Eventually, it may stop producing altogether. The second problem is a hormone called DHT. The full name is dihydrotestosterone. Here is the simple version. Your body produces testosterone throughout your life. As you age, more of that testosterone converts into a more concentrated form called DHT. This DHT accumulates in the scalp tissue, and it has one very specific effect on the hair follicle. It causes the follicle to shrink. The medical term is miniaturization. The follicle gets smaller over time. The hair it produces gets shorter and finer until the follicle is producing almost nothing. DHT affects both men and women. Many women are surprised to hear this, but hormonal shifts after 60 increased HT sensitivity in the scalp, regardless of gender. The third factor is inflammation. Chronic low-level inflammation in the scalp disrupts the follicle cycle. It interferes with the signals that tell the follicle when to grow. In some people, this inflammation is related to a scalp fungus, which is more common after 60 than most people realize. In others, it is a consequence of poor circulation and dietary gaps. Either way, it is silently interfering with follicle activity. Now here's the part I need you to hear clearly. The hair follicle does not die immediately. It goes dormant first. A dormant follicle can be reactivated. A dead follicle cannot. The window between dormant and dead is real, and it is not infinite. Every month, these 3 conditions go unrest. More follicles cross from dormant into a state that is far harder to reverse. I have seen patients who waited 5 years and still achieved meaningful regrowth. I have also seen patients who waited too long. By the time they came to me, the window had narrowed significantly. You are watching this now. That means you still have time. But time matters here. The spray I am about to show you addresses all 3 of these root causes directly. Each of the 3 ingredients targets one specific condition. That is the reason this combination works, when a single ingredient alone often disappoints. But before I show you the ingredients, I need you to understand something. There is more to this protocol than the recipe. The application method matters just as much as the ingredients. I will explain both in full detail. Remember why you are still watching. You want your hair to stop thinning. You want to see growth where there has been loss. And I need you to hold death. Is clearly the longer these root causes go unaddressed, the harder it becomes to reverse the damage. Dormant follicles do not wait indefinitely, but you are here now, and we are going to give them exactly what they need. The spray has 3 components. Each targets a different root cause. They are prepared together, but each one has a distinct role. Do not leave any of them out. The first ingredient is onion. I know this surprises people. I ask you to stay with this for a moment. Onion is one of the most sulfur-rich foods readily available to us. Sulfur is one of the fundamental building blocks of keratin. Keratin is the protein your hair is made of. When sulfur compounds are applied directly to the scalp, they support the structural integrity of the follicle from the outside. Without adequate sulfur available at the follicle level, the hair structure is compromised from its very foundation. Onion also contains a compound called quercetin. Quercetin is a naturally occurring plant molecule with well-documented anti-inflammatory properties. Research on quercetin and its effects on tissue inflammation has shown meaningful results across multiple studies. Remember that chronic scalp inflammation is one of the 3 root causes I described. Quercetin works against it directly at the scalp level. To prepare the onion, take 1 medium onion, peel it completely, and slice it into small pieces. Place the pieces into a small saucepan. Add 1 cup of water. Set the saucepan aside for now. Do not skip the onion or reduce the quantity. Patients who use only the other 2 ingredients and leave out the onion consistently get weaker results. The sulfur and quercetin are not optional. They are the foundation of this protocol. If you leave the onion out, you are removing the anti-inflammatory and structural component entirely. Other ingredients will still do something, but they will do IT in a scalp environment that is still inflamed and structurally unsupported. That is like painting a wall that has not been primed. The second ingredient is garlic. Garlic and onion come from the same plant family, but garlic brings something different to this protocol. The key compound in garlic is allicin. Allicin forms when garlic is cut or crushed, released through a chemical reaction when the cell walls break. It has documented antimicrobial and antifungal properties. And importantly for our purposes, it has a measurable effect on local blood circulation. When allicin is present at the scalp level, it helps dilate the small capillaries that feed the hair follicle. This directly addresses the first root cause, reduced blood flow. Garlic also protects against scalp fungus. This matters more than most people realize. Scalp fungus does not always announce itself with obvious symptoms. It does not always cause visible flaking or intense itching. Sometimes it simply disrupts the follicular environment quietly and persistently. The antifungal properties of garlic work against this silent interference. Take 3 cloves of garlic, peel them, slice them thin, add them to the saucepan with the onion pieces before boiling. The onion and garlic are boiled together intentionally. The boiling water extracts both the sulfur compounds from the onion and the allicin and from the garlic simultaneously. They combine into one solution. This combination is more effective than either alone. Do not boil for longer than 4 minutes. Excessive heat begins to degrade allicin. 4 minutes is the correct duration. Set a timer and do not walk away. Many people try onion-only solutions and see only partial results. The reason is almost always the absence of garlic. Without garlic, you are not adequately stimulating circulation, and you have no protection against scalp fungus. These are not ME-AB nor GAPs. They are 2 of the 3 root causes left unrest. The third ingredient is coffee. Add 1 teaspoon of ground or instant coffee to the saucepan before you begin boiling. Coffee contains caffeine. I want to be specific about what caffeine does when applied topically to the scalp because this is widely misunderstood. When you drink coffee, caffeine travels through your entire bloodstream and affects the whole system. When caffeine is applied directly to the scalp, its action is more localized. Research published in dermatology journals on topical caffeine and hair follicle biology has found that caffeine can penetrate the follicle structure and interact with the mechanisms that govern the hair growth cycle. Specifically, studies suggest it can reduce the sensitivity of the follicle to DHT. DHT is the second root cause. The hormone that progressively shrinks the follicle, topical caffeine, does not eliminate DHT from the body. But the research suggests it can reduce the degree to which DHT disrupts follicle function. Caffeine also independently stimulates circulation at the scalp surface. Combined with the allicin from the garlic, you now have 2 separate circulation-stimulating mechanisms working together in the same preparation. Together, the three ingredients give you this sulfur and quarin from the onion addressing inflammation and structural support at the follicle, allicinin from the garlic targeting circulation, providing antifungal protection, and caffeine from the coffee reducing DHT sensitivity while contributing a second layer of circulatory stimulation. All three root causes, one spray, one preparation. After 4 minutes of gentle boiling with all three ingredients in the water, strain the entire mixture through a fine strainer. Discard all solids. Allow the liquid to cool completely before using. Pour into a clean spray bottle. Store in the ref rigger. It stays fresh for up to 5 days. After 5 days, prepare a fresh batch. To apply, part your hair in sections so the spray reaches the scalp directly. Do not simply spray onto the surface of your hair. You want the solution on your skin at the follicle level. Spray thoroughly across the scalp, covering all thinning areas. Then massage using your fingertips in firm circular motions for 2 full minutes. The massage is not decorative. It mechanically drives blood circulation independently of the ingredients. It also helps the solution penetrate through the outer skin layer. 2 minutes feels longer than you expect when you are counting. Use a timer after massaging. Cover your hair with a shower cap or cling film. Leave the solution on for 2 hours. Then wash your hair normally. Repeat this process twice per week. If you do this once and stop, you will see nothing. The results from this protocol are cumulative. Hair follicle growth cycles in adults are measured in weeks, not days. You need repeated stimulation across multiple cycles before the change becomes visible. Twice per week for 8 to 12 weeks is where meaningful visible change begins. Set your 2 application days in your calendar. Now, do not rely on memory or motivation alone. But before I give you your action plan for this week, I need to address 2 beliefs that are very common among people over 60. Both of them are standing in your way, and both of them are wrong. The first thing I want to challenge is the belief that a good hair growth shampoo is sufficient treatment for hair loss. Many people watching this are already using some form of commercial product, a shampoo with biotin, a scalp serum from the pharmacy, something with a natural extract or a promising ingredient on the label. I am not dismissing every commercial product, but I need you to think carefully about how shampoos actually work. You Apple shampoos actually work. You Apple shampoo, you lather, you rinse. The contact time between the active ingredient and your scalp is perhaps 60 to 90 seconds. Whatever active compound is in that shampoo must penetrate the scalp, reach the follicle, and produce a meaningful biological effect in that window. Most compounds cannot do this. They rinse away before they can act. The packaging promises what the delivery method cannot deliver. Preparations with the strongest evidence for hair follicle stimulation are leave-on treatments, applications that maintain contact with the scalp for extended periods, 1 hour, 2 hours. This is why the spray in this protocol is left on for 2 hours. That duration reflects the time required for active compounds to be absorbed to the follicle level. It is not arbitrary. If you are currently relying on a rinse-off shampoo as your primary hair treatment, you are spending money and time on something that cannot deliver what your follicles need. Every month you continue is a month your follicles are not receiving the targeted stimulation they require. That is a real cost. It compounds over time. I say this not to make you feel badly about your choices, but to free you to do something that can actually reach the follicle. The second thing I want to address is the belief that hair loss in older age is purely genetic, and therefore nothing meaningful can be done. I hear this from patients regularly. My father was bald by 50, my grandmother's hair thinned dramatically after 60. This is simply my fate. I will not tell you genetics is not a factor, it is. Genetics influences how sensitive your follicles are to DHT. It shapes how your circulation ages. It gives you a predisposition, but a predisposition is not a destiny. These are different things, but a predisposition is not a destiny. Here is the key distinction I want you to hold. Genetics sets a threshold. Your scalp environment determines whether that threshold is crossed. 2 people with identical genetic profiles can have dramatically different outcomes based on scalp circulation, inflammatory burden, DHT management, and nutritional status over time. All of these are modifiable. All of them are within your influence. When someone tells me their hair loss is genetic, what I sometimes hear is a decision to stop looking for solutions, and that decision is what allows the predisposition to proceed unchallenged. Without any intervention, the genetic tendency does exactly what genetics tends to do. But with the right environment, the expression of that tendency can be significantly modified. Have seen patients with strong family histories of thinning make real visible progress by addressing their scalp environment consistently. Not always a complete reversal, but a meaningful one enough to matter enough to be seen. If you accept hair loss as fixed, you will take no action. Without action, the outcome is certain. I would rather you hold it as uncertain. Uncertain in a direction that favors you. Now, before I give you this week's action plan, I want to share a story about a patient I have thought about often. Her name was Fumiko. She was 68 when she first came to me about her hair. She had been noticing the thinning for nearly 8 years. Her hair had been thick in her late 50s. By the time she sat in my office, the top of her scalp was clearly visible in certain lights. She told me she had stopped wearing her hair up because it felt too exposing, that she had changed the way she stood in family photographs. Famika was not someone who gave up easily. She had tried a scalp serum she found at a pharmacy. She had taken a biotin supplement consistently for 6 months. She had used castor oil treatments. She had done these things properly and consistently, and she had seen very little change, nothing that held. What she had not done was address circulation and DHT at the same time. She had been approaching each symptom with a single ingredient, not targeting all 3 root causes together in one protocol. We began the spray protocol: onion, garlic, and coffee twice per week. I asked her to take photographs every 2 weeks from the same angle, in the same light, and to resist the urge to evaluate her progress in the mirror day to day. At week 4, she sent me a message. She was not sure it was working. The photographs showed something perhaps, but she could not be certain. I told her to continue. I told her that the follicle does not reveal its work in the first month. It is working beneath the surface long before the surface shows it. At week 8, she compared the week 8 photograph to the one from the start. The difference was visible, not dramatic, but real. New fine hairs at the hairline. The visible scalp at the crown had reduced, she continued. At week 14, she came to the clinic. The change was clear to both of us without meeting to compare photographs, not a restoration to what she had at 45. That would be an unreasonable promise. And I do not make unreasonable promise, and I do not make unreasonable promises, but a genuine, measurable, visible improvement. Her hair was denser. The thinning had reduced in a way that others were beginning to notice. She told me she had started wearing her hair up again on certain days. That small thing mattered enormously to her. What almost stopped her was the silence of the first 4 weeks. Nothing obvious, nothing the mirror would confirm. Most people quit in that window. They expect visible results in week 1 or 2. And when those results do not come, they conclude the protocol does not work, and they stop exactly when the follicles are just beginning to respond. If you start this protocol, take photographs. Compare at weeks 4, 8, and 12. The photographs are not vanity. They are evidence, and evidence is what keeps you going when the mirror has not yet caught up. There are 3 mistakes I see people make with this protocol. Each one prevents results that would otherwise come, and each one is simple to correct once you know about it. The first mistake is not massaging for the full 2 minutes. Most people spray the solution, let it sit and move on, or they massage briefly 20 or 30 seconds. This is a significant error. The massage is not cosmetic or optional. Firm circular massage with your fingertips mechanically stimulates blood flow in the scalp capillaries. It also creates movement that helps the solution penetrate through the outer skin layer into the follicle tissue beneath. Without the full 2 minutes, the solution sits largely on the surface. Absorption is reduced. The circulation benefit is reduced. Use a timer. 2 minutes feels longer than you expect. The second mistake is inconsistency. People apply the spray once or twice, see nothing obvious in the first week, and reduce their frequency or stop entirely. I understand why. When you act and see no result, the natural response is to question whether the action is working. But this is exactly the wrong time to stop. Hair follicle cycles are long biological processes measured in weeks. Meaningful results require repeated stimulation across multiple cycles before they become visible. Twice per week produces substantially more effect than once per week. Fewer than once per week. Fewer than once per week produces very little. If you commit to this, commit for 12 weeks. If you miss a week, start again the next week without guilt. But treat 2 consecutive missed weeks as the signal to recommend and restart with intention. The third mistake is the one I promised you at the beginning of this video. This is the mistake that cancels out everything else. Most people apply the spray immediately after washing their hair with a sulfate-based Sha and P. This one timing error eliminates a large portion of the protocol's effectiveness. Here is exactly why sulfate shampoos are powerful cleansing agents. Most common shampoos contain them. They are responsible for the lather. They strip the scalp of its natural oils very effectively. When the scalp is stripped, the body responds quickly and automatically. The sebaceous glands produce a fresh protective coating of sebum to seal the scalp surface. Again, when you apply the spray to a scalp covered in this fresh sebum barrier, the solution cannot penetrate the allicinin and the quercetin. The allicinin and the quercetin, the caffeine, sit on top of that barrier. They never reach the follicle level. You are applying an effective protocol to a closed door. The fix is straightforward. Either apply the spray to hair that has not been washed that same day, or if you wash first, wait a minimum of 3 to 4 hours before applying the spray. Better still, switch to a sulfate-free shampoo, and this problem disappears entirely. This single change for many people is what transforms a protocol that seems to not be working into one that clearly does. Now, I want to give you 3 clear steps for this week, concrete and specific. Starting today, step 1, make the spray this week. Today, if possible, you need 1 medium onion, 3 cloves of garlic, and 1 TBSP of coffee, nothing more. Slice the onion and garlic. Place them in a small saucepan with 1 cup of water and the coffee. Boil gently on low heat for 4 minutes. Strain through a fine strainer. Allow the liquid to cool completely. Pour into a spray bottle. Store in the refrigerator. Use within 5 days and then make a fresh batch. The preparation takes 15 minutes. If you do not do this today, be honest with yourself about whether you will do it next week. The best time to start is always the moment you decide to. Step 2. Set 2 fixed application days. Each of you will eke and treat them as non-negotiable appointments. Tuesday and Friday, Monday and Thursday. Any 2 days with space between them, put them in your calendar now. Block 30 minutes for the application and massage. The 2-hour leave on period does not require you to sit still. You can read, watch television, or rest comfortably. Fixed days remove the dependence on willpower or memory. You are not deciding each week whether to do it. You are simply following the schedule. That difference over 12 weeks is enormous. Step 3. Take a photograph of your scalp today before your first application from the top of the head, from the front hairline in consistent natural lighting. Save it somewhere. You will not lose it. Then take the same photograph every 2 weeks from the same angle in the same light. Do not evaluate your progress in the mirror day by day. That is not how this works. You will not perceive the change as it happens. You will only see it clearly in comparison. The photographs give you that comparison. They gave Fumiko what she needed to continue when she doubted. They will give you the same. Without the photographs, you will be navigating without a map. And at week 4, when growth is beginning beneath the surface but has not yet appeared above it, you will very likely stop. I want to bring you back to where we began today. You came here because something has been changing. You have watched your hair thin over months or years. Perhaps you have tried things before that did not hold. Perhaps a part of you is still uncertain that this will be different. I have spent a long life watching what happens when people act and what happens when people wait. The ones who act, even imperfectly and with uncertainty, consistently do better than those who wait until they are sure. You do not need certainty to begin. You need 3 ingredients 2 days a week and the patience to let the photographs tell you what the mirror has not yet shown. Please subscribe to this channel if today helped you and leave a comment telling me how long you have been dealing with hair thinning. Only have been dealing with hair thinning. I read everyone.